We now take a look at the news around the East African region. We start off with news in Tanzania. The country is mourning and struggling to come to terms with the death of 71 people in a petrol tank inferno on Saturday. Grief is palpable in Morogoro, some 175 kilometers west of the capital, Dar es Salaam, where people were cheered to death and several escaped with severe burns. The tragic story started on Saturday when a petrol tank driver swerved to save a reckless boda rider and lost control. The tanker overturned. Residents noticing petrol leaking rushed to scoop it, and the next thing was a huge fireball that engulfed the area. The dead were buried on Sunday. President John Magufuli directed Muhimbili National Hospital in Dar es Salaam to offer free treatment to the injured. This is the first accident of the kind in Tanzania's recent history. Moving on to South Sudan, the Kenyan Special Envoy for South Sudan, Kalonzo Musyoka, has said there should be no further delays in the formation of the country's coalition government due this November. Addressing reporters after meeting the South Sudanese President Salva Kiir on last week, Musyoka said his mission is to encourage the parties to achieve the November 12th deadline without any delays. The Kenyan opposition leader was appointed Special Envoy to South Sudan in July. We close the news around East Africa from Kenya. Kenyan politicians are not waiting for the election timetable. Deputy President Ruto has been traversing the country on a so-called development tour, but in reality selling his candidature for 2022 elections. Opposition leader Raila Odinga, who is widely believed to have the backing of President Uhuru Kenyatta, has also been going around the country. Today, The Star, a Kenyan newspaper, reported that Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi has assembled a team of technocrats as his political think tank as he aggressively masters a formidable 2020 political machine. The Star has established that Mudavadi has tapped into political think tanks, some of which previously worked for President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition chief Raila Odinga. Musalia was the chairman of the NASA presidential campaign. He interacted with everyone and he knows those who are effective. A source familiar with the plans told The Star. A 15-member think tank includes Elaudi Awara, a management consultant whose firm, Elaudi and Advocates, has been bagging huge consultancy work in and out of the government. In news around the world, from Libya, rocket fire hit the Libyan capital's sole functioning airport Sunday, violating a temporary truce between the unity government and forces loyal to strongman Khalifa Haftar, airport authorities said. Air traffic was suspended until further notice, a statement added, alongside photos showing columns of smoke rising from the runway and packed planes. Haftar launched an offensive to take Libya's capital in early April, but encountered stiff resistance, resulting in months of stalemate in southern Tripoli's outskirts. News from Ethiopia. Ethiopia's ruling coalition says national elections will take place next year, defying worries over security and displacement in the Horn of Africa country that had led some to speculate the election may be postponed. The executive committee did not give a date for the poll. News from the United States as the U.S. presidential race takes shape. Anthony Scaramucci, former White House communications director, aired his views that Republican Party could find another presidential candidate, implying Donald Trump is not fit to run. He said President Donald Trump's ongoing meltdown could lead to him getting replaced as the Republican flag bearer for next year's presidential election. News from India. Indian troops clamped tight restrictions on mosques across Kashmir for Mondi's Eid al-Adha festival, fearing anti-government protests over the stripping of the Muslim-majority region's autonomy. According to residents, the Himalayan region's biggest mosque, the Jama Masjid, was ordered closed, and people were only allowed to pray in smaller local mosques so that no big crowds could gather, witnesses said. Kashmir has been in a security lockdown for 8 days as the Hindu nationalist government in New Delhi seeks to sniff out opposition to its move to impose tighter central control over the region. Closing off the news around the world is a story from Japan, where South Korea has put Japan into its own new export category, intensifying a trade war between the two neighbors and U.S. allies. The move came after Seoul announced earlier this month it would remove Tokyo from its list of trusted trading partners, reciprocating an identical move by Japan that followed Tokyo's imposition of tough restrictions on exports crucial to tech titans such as Samsung, following a series of South Korean court rulings ordering Japanese firms to pay for forced labor during the World War II. That is it for the news around the world. We now take a short break, but when we come back, we'll take a look at the news in business.